Hey guys, tonight I am going to start a new book with you guys. This is a book that I loved so much when I was a child, so I'm hoping that you will like that. And yes, there were books when I was a child. I know those fifth graders are out there saying, books way back in the olden days when Miss McNeil was little. But it's a book by Beverly Cleary. Lots of your moms and dads probably have read some books by her because she's just a really phenomenal writer. And I'm going to try to read about a chapter a night, but it's called Runaway Ralph. And Scholastic Books was kind enough to let us have permission to read this one on our YouTube channel. So it's by Beverly Cleary, and then if you saw, there's Ralph. He lives out in the country. We'll learn a lot more about him. The illustrations are by Lewis Darling, who wrote a lot of books when I was a little person too. So Ramona, some of those books that you guys maybe have read. All right. Runaway Ralph. Chapter 1. Ralph hears a distant bugle. The small brown mouse named Ralph, who was hiding under the grandfather clock, did not have much longer to wait before he could ride his motorcycle. He's a mouse who rides a motorcycle, you guys. The clock had struck 8 already, and then 8:30. Ralph was the only mouse in the Mountain View Inn, a rundown hotel in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada, who owned a motorcycle. I'd say he's probably the only mouse in the world who has a motorcycle. It was a mouse-sized red motorcycle, a present from a boy named Keith, who had been a guest in room 215 over the 4th of July weekend. Ralph was proud of his motorcycle, but his brothers and sisters said he was selfish. "I am not," said Ralph. "Keith gave the motorcycle to me." That evening, while Ralph waited under the clock and watched the television set across the lobby, a man and a woman followed by a medium-sized boy walked into the hotel. They had the rumpled look of people who had driven many miles that day. The boy was wearing jeans, cowboy boots, and a white t-shirt with the words Happy Acres Camp stenciled across the front. Ralph observed the boy with interest. Do you remember what observed means? It usually means like look very carefully at something. He was the right kind of boy, a boy who was sure to like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Since the day Keith had left the hotel, Ralph had longed for crumbs of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. A grating, grinding noise came from the works of the grandfather clock. Ralph clapped his paws over his ears. The clock grumbled and groaned and managed to strike the hour. 9 o'clock! The time had almost come. The stroke of 9 was followed by the slow sound, sad notes of music that lingered and died mysteriously in the distance every night at that time. "Did you hear that?" the man asked the boy. It was the bugle at the camp playing taps. Bugle's another word for trumpet, and that's kind of an instrument that we use, like in the Miss Alms has talked about. It's a brass instrument. So that's what the music was, thought Ralph. He had puzzled over those notes all summer. When the boy didn't answer, his mother said, "Come on, Garf, cheer up. You're going to have a lot of fun at camp." "Maybe," answered Garf, "but I doubt it." So I'm guessing that maybe Garf isn't wanting to go to camp. The father looked annoyed. "You won't have any fun if you take that attitude." He went to the desk, sorry about that guys, to inquire about a room with an extra cot for the night. Ralph could not understand the boy's behavior. He had often heard other guests wearing the same kind of white t-shirt, speaking of a place called camp, but unlike this boy, they always sounded eager and excited about going there. Ralph did not know exactly what a camp was, but since medium-sized boys and girls went there, he thought it must be a place where people ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. The desk clerk summoned old Matt, the elderly bellboy and hotel handyman, to show the family to their room. As Matt picked up their suitcases and led the way to the elevator, he said to Garf, "Well, hello, young fellow. What are you going to have for breakfast tomorrow, apple pie or chocolate cake?" Matt, who was not always popular with the parents, was always liked by children. The boy smiled faintly at Matt's joke. Did you know that he was joking? Could you tell that? I think I could tell that. As he followed the old man into the elevator, what that boy needs, what do you think, is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, thought Ralph. When Matt returned to the lobby, Ralph watched him go into the hotel porch where he stood for a few minutes among the empty rocking chairs for his nightly look at the stars before he retired for the night. The night clerk, a college student hired for the summer, came on duty and settled down on the couch to read a thick book. Ralph's time had almost come. Sure enough, the clerk read a few pages and then lay down on the couch with the book face down on his chest, and closed his eyes. Ralph was free for the night. He darted under the television set where he had hidden his motorcycle, and the crash helmet that Keith had made from half of a ping pong ball lined with thistledown. Thistledown's something you might find out in the woods and the kind of in gardens and stuff. It's a really soft kind of petal. He already had polished the chrome on his motorcycle by licking his paws and rubbing them over the dull spots. Now he set his crash helmet on his head, snapped the rubber band under his chin to hold it in place, and taking care to keep his tail out of the spokes, mounted his motorcycle. Next, he inhaled deeply and exhaling with a sound, the only sound that will make a miniature motorcycle go, sped out from the television set and across the carpet. Ralph rode the bike up and down the hall. He zoomed up and down the hall. The joy of speed made up for the long hours of hiding in dusty corners waiting for night to come. Up and down, Ralph rode until he was too tired to take another breath. He parked his motorcycle in the shadowy corner, hung his crash helmet on the handlebars, and flattened himself, slipped under the door to his favorite room at the inn. It was a stuffy room, not very light in daytime, and locked when the last person left at night. It was furnished with small tables and rows of high stools. It was his favorite because he could find peanuts, sometimes popcorn, and once in a great while, a stuffed olive. Today, he gobbled his fill of peanuts, wishing he had a little grape jelly to go with them, and managed. In fact, in spite of being somewhat fatter than he was when he entered, to squeeze out again. All right, so Ralph has begun on his adventure. He's even stopped in the restaurant to get himself a few little snacks, and he slipped back under that door to go on to his nighttime adventure. Let's wait and see what happens to him tomorrow. Here's a picture of him eating some of his little snacks that he's gotten in that restaurant. All right, hope you all had a great day, that you're working on your NTI, making sure that you're getting all of that stuff done. Have a good evening. Thanks.